Growing up in the UK 20 years ago, Poland was often thought of as a poor country enduring hard times. That view may still ring true today, depending on who you speak to, but time has a way of proving people wrong. The tables have turned. In another 20 years, some financial experts think that the Polish economy may actually overtake the UK's. Join me in the Polish capital Warsaw, where I'll give you a glimpse of a Poland you never thought existed. Where are we off to right now?
We are going to Łazienki. This is like a very beautiful park in center of Warsaw. Mike hasn't been there. I used to live in Warsaw, so I'm quite familiar with the surrounding.
There's just one problem with this bus. There's no aircon, and it's touching 30 degrees today. It's scorching up. So we have arrived, and what is the name of this park?
It's Łazienki Królewskie.
First impressions as you stroll through the park. You're surrounded by a sea of green. The tall trees, they offer a welcome shelter from the sun, and it's hard to believe that you're actually in the heart of Warsaw. Feels like the perfect spot to slow down, breathe, and take it all in. So what's the story?
Okay, go on. No, you tell.
Story, no.
I
No,
insist.
nobody wants to tell a story.
I insist.
No.
When was it? 18th,
18th century, yes.
18th century. The last king of Poland, who was
Stanisław August Poniatowski.
well done. She was always the best with history. The last king of Poland, he used to live here, and he's got his I would say entertainment area. They used to have canals here, and there was boats, and also he had a couple houses with
Ladies.
with ladies, yeah, and you can imagine what he was doing with the ladies. Yeah, so
Being
basically,
a bad man.
well, very well entertained man, and basically he wasn't like a king of Poland back then. He was only on paper, because we had the that started the bad period in our history, because basically we were just demolished from the surface of Europe. Yeah, so the power, Russia ruled Poland back then. And basically that was just the area for the king, for him to have good, pleasant life. That's why it's so
people.
for the rich people. That's why it's so beautiful. Sorry, we have a sweaty hands now. I hold her just to do not let her go. Yeah.
So how do you translate the name of this park in English?
So the name of this park, like a literal translation, will be Queen's Bathrooms. But I think this translation is not quite accurate, because the name here, Łazienki, it's coming from łaźnia, which means basically a bath, like you have a thermal bath, for example, in Harrogate. Yeah, so it's like Queen's Baths.
But there's no thermal baths in here?
No, there's not. I'm not sure have they ever been here. We see some lovely palace in a second, and there will be like a very nice pond here, and we used to have canals here, but not anymore.
Still, nevertheless, it's a nice place to go for a stroll on a nice hot summer's day.
Definitely it is.
So yeah, this park is absolutely amazing. Lots of green everywhere. We're now walking towards the pond, so we'll have a look, see what it's like. So behind me you can see the lake, the pond, and the palace in the background. What a beautiful scene this is.
What can you give them to feed them, you know? If you can feed them or not feed them, or not to feed them, or what to give them to eat. So it's written here.
It's time to head into the palace, but first, time for some photos. So the ticket to get into the palace is actually fairly expensive by Polish standards. It costs about £10 roughly, but we've got the tickets, we're going to make the most of it, we're heading in, let's see what it's all about. Welcome to the palace. Someone very rich definitely lived here. The kind of rich where you don't just own a house, you own a palace. Notice the sculptures on top of the fireplace, and check out the portraits of important people on the wall. They definitely look like they're judging your life choices. Welcome to the ballroom, because when you're this rich, you don't just dance in the living room like the rest of us. We've got the piano in front of the important seats in the alcove. The likes of Chopin probably played here for aristocrats who nodded like they knew what was going on. Then there's the fancy low-hanging chandeliers, because one chandelier isn't enough when you're royalty. Oh, and who needs two fireplaces in the same room? There's a sculpture of Hercules standing on top of the fireplace, but my personal favourite, the three-headed dog. Is that Cerberus straight out of mythology? Or better yet, it looks like Fluffy from Harry Potter. I'm just hoping it doesn't come to life and chase us out of here. There's something about the modern day selfie that brings you back to reality. And if that doesn't do it, how about sitting down and setting off an alarm on the chair you're sitting on? So, a little bit about Łazienki Palace. Officially, it's known as the Palace on the Isle. Why? Because it looks like the architect couldn't decide if they wanted to build a mansion or a fancy houseboat. Spoiler alert, they went with both. Originally, it was just a bathhouse, but in the 18th century, King Stanislav II August said, nah, let's go full royal, and he transformed it into his personal palace. Because apparently, when you're king, spa days can literally turn into palace days. So what do you think of this place then? It's not too bad, is it? Upstairs, the extravagance doesn't stop. It's like the designers thought, more statues? Yes please. And the view? You've got a lakeside view with swans gliding across the lake. Definitely beats staring at your neighbour's recycling bin. Makes you wonder, what would this place rent for on Airbnb? Just for one night. Drop your guesses in the comments. It's quite the place for somebody to live. And would you believe, in one room, instead of a chandelier, there's a birdcage hanging from the ceiling. Fancy, quirky, and teetering on the edge of ridiculous. That's life upstairs at Łazienki Palace.
Did you enjoy the museum?
It wasn't too bad, was it? Some nice beautiful pieces in there. What I was surprised at, well maybe not, but there was parts of the museum at the palace that got destroyed during World War II.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think it was parts, it was the majority.
Yeah, the Nazis basically flattened the place.
Yeah, sadly.
The Polish did manage to salvage some of the materials and some of the paintings they hid in like a bunker somewhere in the middle of Warsaw, and then they rebuilt it gradually after the war.
Took us 15 years, to rebuild everything.
After a brief venture out into the midday sun, it was time to head back inside and inspect the inside of another fancy building. We are indoors once again, and the building that we find ourselves in translates to...
Dining room.
No, that's the room that we're in, the building.
Oh, White House.
The White House, yeah. After taking in the extravagance of the palace, this building was more of the same, though dialed down just a notch. The first building to be built on the Łazienki premises in 1774.
I think I like this room the most.
Why do you like this room the most?
Because it's the perfect place to put my makeup on.
Check this out for a door handle. That patch of grass would make a great five-a-side football pitch. Forget the history, let's get a game started. Our tickets allowed us to go in the orangery, so that's where we headed next. And my word, the extravagance was cranked up once again. Upstairs we found ourselves in a room lined with busts, which, let's be honest, it felt a little bit like we were walking in an 18th century version of Celebrity Hall of Fame. Only here, The stars are mostly philosophers, emperors, and a few folks with epic beards. Downstairs is where the magic happens. In this picturesque room, welcome to the Royal Sculpture Gallery, where it feels like we've accidentally walked into a very exclusive marble VIP lounge. These marble statues strike in timeless poses. They've been flexing for centuries. It's like the saying, this is my best angle and it's staying this way for eternity. While this room might seem a bit pretentious, the building also has Poland's only royal theatre. Here, Europe's elite gathered for what was basically the Netflix of the 18th century. No rewinds, no second takes, just pure unfiltered drama. That is Łazienki Park. There's just one more thing to show you here.
So, one of the most famous sons of Warsaw is the composer Chopin, and there is a nice statue commemorating him, so let's check it out.
Well, this is pretty cool. They must do open air concerts with the benches here.
So there he is in all his glory. It's quite the monument, isn't it? Next to this lovely little pond. So we are in the middle of town, found ourselves a food court, and there's quite a selection to choose from, so we're going to have a wander around, see what's here. This brings us back to Madeira. How excited are you for your pastel de natas?
Thank you guys. Ta-da! Pastel de nata for us and our friends.
Walking into the food court in Warsaw city centre, I'm not going to lie, I was actually blown away by how modern it was and the incredible variety of options. It was better than most places I've been to in the UK. There were plenty of tables upstairs and downstairs to socialise. In the end, I went with Mexican food, which was absolutely lovely. Yes, I know Mexican food in Poland, how dare I? But if you're curious about my Polish food adventure in Warsaw, check out this video. After food, we decided to explore the Vistula River. It was a bit out of the way from where we were, so we hopped onto public transport to get there. Just a quick note about the public transport system. To be honest, getting around Warsaw is a breeze with the cheap and easy public transport system. You just need one ticket which will cover you on buses, trams and metros, and many of the bus stops and tram stops, they've got ticket machines with language options. Always remember to validate your ticket at the start of the journey because you don't want a ticket fine as a souvenir from your holiday. We managed to snag a group pass for 5 of us, but since we were a group of 6 we had to buy an individual ticket, but to be honest it all worked out cheaper in the end. There's a Jago app which makes it easier to plan routes and buy tickets. It didn't take us long to get to the river, and whoa, I definitely didn't expect what I saw when we arrived. It seems like the Riverside is the place to be on a Saturday night in Warsaw.
Cześć.
Cheers.
We're currently walking along the waterfront, along the river Wisła in Warsaw. I didn't expect it to be this busy. There's lots of people about, but it's a peaceful atmosphere, people having a good time. There's music, people having a beer. It's light shows. But yeah, it's good. I like it.
How on earth did they get that artwork on there? They must have stopped on a boat, surely. The steps are definitely the spot to swap your stories from your week at work. And if you're feeling peckish, there's bars and restaurants nearby for a snack or a cold beer. They even had a big projector screen showing the football. Talk about the perfect setup. And if football's not your thing, there's live music. So that is day 1 in Warsaw. I have to say, it surprised me. I didn't expect it to be this good. But I'm not done yet. Stay tuned because there's more Warsaw content coming your way. Thanks for watching.